Hello, hello, and welcome back to another adventure in the cookie jar. Today we're doing the 14th recipe from the Red Velvet Cupcake Murder. It is called monkey bread. It is actually a very short recipe. They just have a lot of notes. So you are preheating your oven to 350. You're going to want 1¼ cups of white sugar, 1½ teaspoons of ground cinnamon, 4 cans of the 7½ ounce tubes unbaked refrigerated biscuits. They are these tiny ones, which I did not even know they made, so that's kind of cute. There is a purpose for that, and they do explain it. 1 cup of chopped nuts of your choice, optional. 1 cup chocolate chips, optional. ½ cup of salted butter, 1 stick. So the first note, if you prefer, you can use 16.3-ounce tubes of the biscuits. If you do this, buy only 2 tubes. They are larger, you will use ½ a tube for each layer. If you use chocolate chips and or nuts, place them between each biscuit layer. So simply you're going to take a bundt pan, spray it with spray, cut the biscuits into, I believe, like 4 pieces. If you're using the actual 7½ ounces, roll it in the cinnamon. Well, you're going to mix cinnamon and sugar, roll the biscuits in that, and then pop them in the pan. A tube per layer. In between the layers, put a third of the chocolate chips and a third of the nuts. Once you reach your final layer, you're going to melt the stick of butter and mix it with whatever cinnamon sugar you have left and drizzle that on top, and then bake it for 50 minutes. The next note is if you'd like to make caramel monkey bread, use only 3/4 cup of white sugar. Mix it with the cinnamon the way you do if it was the full amount of white sugar. At the very end, when you melt the butter with the leftover cinnamon sugar mixture, add 3/4 cup of brown sugar to the bowl before you put it in the microwave. Pour that hot mixture over the top of your bundt pan before baking, and it will form a luscious caramel topping when you unmold your monkey bread. Sounds good. I don't know why this is called monkey bread. Norman thinks it has something to do with the old story about the monkey that couldn't get his hand out of the hole in the tree because he wouldn't let go of the nut he was holding in his fist. Mike thinks it's because monkeys eat with their hands and you can pull this bread apart and eat it with your hands. Mother says it's because monkeys are social animals and you can put the spread in the center of the table and everyone can sit around and eat it. Tracy says it's because it's a cute name. Bethy doesn't care. She just wants to eat it. So, with all of that being said, let's get started. This is everything we're going to need. Okay, so step 1 is we mix the cinnamon and the sugar. Alright, and next it wants us working with 1 set of dough at a time. I think that's because they don't want the biscuits drying out. If you cut them all at the same time, you want the cinnamon sugar to be able to stick. Okay, so we have the whole first set cut up. I'm just going to roll our little quarters into balls and then coat them in the cinnamon sugar and toss them in the bottom of our greased pan. Try to move stuff about. Here we go. Real quick and easy, done with our first layer. Now we're going to take a third of the chips and a third of the nuts. I'm just going to put them in between. And we're going to start again. Right. When we're done with that layer, nuts and chips. About half of what you got left. Okay. And again. So this layer gets the final bit of chocolate chips and nuts. So just kind of Another can of biscuits. Alright, so the next thing is you want your stick of butter. You're going to mix it into your cinnamon sugar you have left and microwave it on high for 45 seconds. It says to now pour this over your bundt pan and then bake it for 40 to 45 minutes. It does recommend putting your bundt pan on a tray just in case the butter boils over. You won't have to clean your whole oven. This is what we have going in the oven. Hopefully it makes us something delicious. Okay, so they are very warm still. So I did have to cut out the first piece so I could kind of pull it apart. But once I got that one slice out, it's a lot easier to pull it apart. I'm not sure if it's the bottom pieces or just the side pieces, but some of them are super crunchy and crispy. The sugar is nice, it's sweet, it's a little bit of a texture. I could have done without the chocolate chips, if I'm honest. I think it overwhelms the cinnamon sugar. It's good. Maybe I should have used like a milk instead of a semi-sweet. But I always felt like the semi-sweet melts better. I don't know. Anyway, it's really good. It's really delicious. It'll get eaten, I'm sure, in no time. Next week, we are moving on to something called a snappy turtle pie. It's interesting name. I hope you all join us for that. I hope you have a good one. Bye, guys.